Eagles' incredible season began locally with an area code championship, a MCSSA tournament title, followed by a Mason-Dixon Christian Conference tournament championship. The MDCC championship win came over top-seeded Cumberland Valley, a team that the Eagles had lost to twice earlier in the season. The MDCC title earns the Eagles a berth in the national tournament in Xenia, Ohio. I think that's how it's pronounced. The Eagles won their first two games 2-1 over Blair County and Westlake Christian before securing the national title with a 2-1 win over Logos Christian. The Dapper Dan is proud to present the Special Recognition Award to the 2018 Calvary Christian Academy boys soccer team in honor of their National Christian School Athletic Association Championship. Accepting the award for Calvary is their coach, TJ Housel.
I want to thank the Dapper Dan Committee for recognizing the accomplishments of Calvary Christian Academy. This year was nothing short of remarkable. We had a lot of holes to fill from the past year, and the boys worked hard to make sure that those were filled. The boys knew what they wanted to accomplish right at the beginning of the season, and they worked tirelessly to make it happen. We faced many obstacles, from broken down transportation to injuries, but we didn't allow that to stop us. At the end of the season, we found ourselves in the championship game of the Mason-Dixon Christian Conference. We were facing a team that beaten us twice, once by a margin of 4-2 and second by 3-1. But our boys knew from the beginning of the season what they wanted, and that was to win the conference. And we ended on top by a score of 5-2. We then found ourselves in the opening round of the National Christian School Athletic Association tournament, facing an undefeated team from Pennsylvania. After a close 2-1 win, we moved on to face a talented team from Westlake, Illinois. We took the contest 2-1. We again found ourselves in a championship round of a tournament where we were faced with a team from Chicago, Illinois. It was a battle, but the boys were able to take the win. None of this would have been possible without the boys' work ethic, support from our school, support from the parents, and the coaching staff and their families. Without all of these people working together like a well-oiled machine, none of this would have been possible. And I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, over the years, this dinner has been blessed through the talents of many people at the Cumberland Times and Cumberland News, and now the Cumberland Times News. We go back to Suter Kegg, who won the award, the top award here in years past, and we have two great sports writers in our area that really do a magnificent job, Mike Burke and Mike Matthews. And to present our next set of awards, Mike Matthews, the outstanding writer from the Cumberland Times News. Mike?
Thank you, Paul. This year, there is not one high school boys soccer coach of the year. There are two. And not only are they from the same school, they are from the same family. And there couldn't be a better choice this year than the Rowan brothers from Bishop Walsh, where they've been a fixture in the soccer program, coaching in 4 decades and for almost 40 years. Think about that first. 36 years of dedication and coaching and teaching on the soccer field. Think about that before we even start to consider the wins and players and championships. And there's a lot to consider in those areas too. Tim and Joe Rowan began as junior varsity coaches at Bishop Walsh for 2 years, where their teams had a record of 33-1. They moved up to the varsity in 1985, and over the years became co-head coaches, sharing that title while leading their teams to many. This year, the Spartans went 10-1-1 over their last 12 games, finished 15-3-1 overall, were city champions at 3-1, small schools Mountain Athletic Conference co-champions, area co-champions, and with a dramatic goal in the final minute, Maryland Independent Schools state champions. As great of a year as it wasn't too far from normalcy for a Bishop Walsh team under the Rowans. Consider during their 34 years with the varsity, BW had a record of 460 wins, only 172 losses, and there were 26 ties. They won 20 city championships. They won 20 bi-state league championships. They won 16 West Virginia and Maryland bi-state championships, won 5 area championships, and 2 state championships. They produced 6 players of the year, 6 offensive players of the year, 8 defensive players of the year, and 1 goalkeeper of the year. That's 21 overall players of the year. They won a league or an area championship every single year. Tim also served as the BW girls coach in 99, 2000, and 2001 with the Lady Spartans, running up a 43-13-3 record with 3 city titles, 2 bi-state titles, and an area championship. His teams produced the Player of the Year 3 times, his daughter Shara, and the Offensive Player of the Year 3 times as well. Including time as the girls coach during his time at BW, Tim's teams won 503 games, lost only 185, and had 29 ties. Joe Rowan announced his retirement at the end of this year's championship season. Tim has assumed the position of Director of Soccer Development at the school. It was only fitting that their last game together as coaches resulted in a state championship. Bishop Walsh was the perfect place for Brother Tim and Brother Joe to coach. They love Bishop Walsh, and certainly Bishop Walsh loves them. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to present the Pepsi-Cola Boys Soccer Coach of the Year Award and the Area Championship Trophy on behalf of JR's Custom Screen Printing of Frostburg to Bishop Walsh's Tim and Joe Rowan.
Thank you very much. Coaching 36 years means that Tim and I are getting old. So it's been a pleasure to coach at Bishop Walsh. It's been an honor to be able to coach as many fine young men as we had. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank God for all his blessings that he's bestowed on me. I truly have had a blessed life. Tim and I would like to thank the Dapper Dan for putting on this recognition dinner for all of these student athletes. It's a wonderful thing to honor our students for positive things that they do. Would also like to thank the Dapper Dan, Pepsi, and Times News for this award. It's much appreciated. Thankful BW, Dr. Ray Kitty. Once Ray came back to the school, I became the 3rd best soccer coach at Bishop Walsh. Tim, then Ray, then me. So when you're the 3rd best at your school, you got a lot of people you can go to if you need advice. Would also like to thank the ADs, Carl Watson and Doc Edwards, for their support, and also longtime AD Jim Zamias for everything he did for us. And Sister Phyllis, she's always very supportive of Tim and I. And also the Bishop Walsh Athletic Association, for they do a wonderful job supporting all of our student athletes at BW. To the parents of our players, thank you for everything you did to make this season successful. Our assistant coaches, Donnie Dunn, Renee Andreasen, Dr. Howard Strauss, Dr. Chappell, Whitey Hopper, Chris Fritz, conditioning coaches, Dr. Paul Lynn and Connor Lynn, and statistics, John Stanley. Would also like to thank Dr. Filippo, who was a longtime assistant with us before he moved to California, and as well as 2 gentlemen that we lost in our years of coaching, Dr. Dave Searles and Big John McCormick, who were instrumental in helping us through the way. The players for everything that they did and all the hard work that they went through this year. It was absolutely amazing what this team did, and I'll talk more about the team in the state championship award. We would also like to thank, Tim would like to thank his family that's here tonight. His wife Carla is here, his daughters Emmy, Vanessa, and Shara, as well as our sister Mary Louise. I would like to thank also our best friends, Linda and Greg Yule. Greg couldn't be here, of Queen City Motors, for all their support. They supported Bishop Walsh Soccer for 36 years as well. Whenever I needed something, I picked the phone up, called Linda, and she said, whatever you need. And also, thank to my sister, who literally saved my life when I was a kid. It's amazing what happens, but thank you, Mary. And last but not least, my wife, who's been with me for 40 years, high school sweetheart, And we were married 38 years this year, so I appreciate everything and all the support she's given me. Thank you all so much.
Last year, any way you want to look at it, was a record season for the Allegany High School girls soccer team. And ironically, it all started with a 0-0 tie. And after a loss a few weeks later, the Campers had a 2-1-1 record. But they wouldn't lose again in more than 2 months, tying several records in the process and enjoying one of the best seasons in school history. When Matt Marlowe took over as the head coach 8 years ago, he inherited a team that had won 5 games the previous 2 seasons. The team improved each season, and this year put it all together in a season that won't soon be forgotten. The Campers had an 11-game winning streak, which was 2 games shy of the school record. They won 13 games, which tied the school record and was the most for an Allegany team in more than a decade. They won the city championship with a 4-0 record, scoring 11 times and allowing only 2. They produced the co-player of the year, the first from Allegany in more than a decade. The 13-2-1 overall record was the best since the 2007 team's 13-1-1. And they won a share of the area championship for the first time since that 2007 season. Allegany and Mountain Ridge were co-area champions this year. For the season, the Campers scored 39 goals and allowed only 7. During their 11-game winning streak, there were 8 shutouts, 32 goals scored, and 4 allowed. The numbers certainly speak for themselves, but another thing to consider about this year's team and next year's team is that there were only 2 seniors this year. Now, granted, one was the co-player of the year, but there are plenty of reasons to expect that we'll be hearing a lot about Allegany soccer in the years to come also. It is my pleasure to present Matt Marlowe with the Pepsi Cola Girls Soccer Coach Year of the Award and to Allegany, the area championship trophy, sponsored by JR's in Frostburg.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Dapper Dan for inviting me here today and Pepsi for sponsoring the trophy. And also, I'd like to thank the Times News for selecting me for this. I'd also like to thank my assistant coaches this year, Sean Kordemosh, Kyle Martz, and Colby Ellsworth for helping make the team what they were this year. And last, I'd like to thank, and probably most importantly, the team, because they're the reason I'm up here, is the work they put in this year and last year and in the past few years that they were able to make the team what they were today. I wouldn't be up here if it weren't for them, so they deserve all the credit for this award. Thank you.
I hardly know where to start in introducing our next award winner. The number of championships and honors are staggering, and the numbers and records are difficult to believe. But I can verify they are true because I witnessed each season and many of the accomplishments firsthand in reporting the games and seasons. Ted Eric resigned this year after 18 seasons at Allegany, one of the most successful boys basketball programs in area history. I referred to it once as the Sedgwick Street Basketball Factory. Ted Eric not only kept that title going, but he built upon it in many ways. If you are a numbers person, or even if you are not, you have to be impressed when considering this. In 18 years, his teams piled up a record of 353 wins and only 92 losses. That's 353 wins in 18 years, almost an average of 20 a season. He is number 1 all-time in coaching winning percentage in the program at 79.3. He is number 2 in career wins and games coached. Only Walter Bill Bowers had more wins and coached in more games, and he coached from 1927 to 1955 and had 566 wins. During Eric's 18 seasons, Allegany won 10 area championships, 11 city championships, 8 Appalachian Mountain Athletic Conference, 3 Western Maryland Interscholastic League, and 8 region championships. That's 40 championships in 18 years. And that's not counting sectional or holiday tournaments that the teams might have won during that period. Of the 10 area championships, there were 5 in a row. And the 2014 to 17 teams had a combined record of 91 and 10. They won 8 AMAC championships in a 9-year span and set a record with a 42-game conference winning streak. They played in 8 state tournaments, finished second 3 times. They produced 10 area players of the year. They had at least one all-area first-teamer in 16 of the 18 years. They had 20 first-teamers overall. And along the way, he coached with a brother, Toby, and against a brother, Todd. He coached 2 sons, Tristan and Trenton. He had a 47-13 record in the city. That's winning nearly 80% of all city games. And a 170-38 record in AMAC and WMIL. That's winning more than 80% of all conference games. His teams won 13 straight games against Fort Hill and 23 of their last 28. He had 1 losing season, record-wise. And wouldn't you know what he said is the most memorable season? That one. The 2002 team that finished 10-13. Because he said there's nothing he liked to do and see better than teaching and seeing player improvement from one game to another, turning a weakness into a strength for both the individual player and the team. He said that year was the most memorable because of the dramatic improvement it made, from starting 2-9 and then finishing 8-4. They beat 7 teams that had beaten them in their first meeting, and several that had done so by lopsided margins. He was also the JV basketball head coach for 4 years, the freshman basketball head coach for 3 years, and also a baseball coach for 5 years, JV baseball head coach for 4 years. As a head coach of all those teams spanning 25 years, his teams had a combined record of 562 wins and 177 losses. And oh, by the way, he was an assistant football coach for many years, including the offensive coordinator of the 1991 state championship team. Ladies and gentlemen, please join the Dapper Dan Club in congratulating Coach Ted Eric with this special recognition award for his dedication and many years of coaching success at Allegany High School.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Dapper Dan for having me here tonight. I'm very humbled to be here. I didn't see this coming, actually. I just thought what I was supposed to do is win games. So, Todd a little bit ago asked me what Little League team I played on, and I can barely remember this, but it's because it's been over 40 years. But I can remember our Red Sox team sitting in the back and really not knowing what the heck was going on, and our legendary coach Jack Livingood. And over the years, I've been here for, I think, player on a state championship team, coaching a Little League championship team, which is one of the funner things to ever see, Little League kids winning a championship. Assistant coaches on state championship teams. So it's really neat that I finally made the stage. It only took me 52 years, but I finally made it up here. 30 years ago, I walked into Coach Jack Gilmore's office, and he needed a freshman football coach. And I was 21 years old, and he said, "Do you really want to do this?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, I do what we do. When you can't play anymore, you coach. And I figure that's why coaches coach, because they can't play anymore. So there we were all those years, and years later, fast forward 30 years, and I get done coaching, and someone asked me, "Well, how did you put up with coaching 30 years? How did you put all that time in?" And the guy was looking at me like I was really stupid. Everybody's got that look before someone looks at you like that. And I gave him a really dumb answer. I said, "I don't know." And actually, it made me start thinking about, reflecting back on my career. And I started thinking about 3 different things. And the first thing is I thought how fortunate I was. All the years coaching, all the mentors I had, like Coach Gilmore. I thought about my family. My wife's been with me even longer. Before I was even married, she was with me, and she's known nothing but me being a coach. I can remember 18 years ago when I first became the head basketball coach, our kids were I think 5-2. And I can remember I could never concentrate fully in the game until I saw her dragging those kids in, by their coach trying to get them in the gym, and then I could finally concentrate on the game. I had brothers that supported me, my mom and dad. Sometimes, I coached football, basketball, and baseball, freshman, JV, varsity, and my dad was at almost every game. And sometimes that was a bad thing because some of you guys that know my dad, he was the first one to tell me how dumb I was after the game was over. I didn't need any parents telling me what I was doing wrong. I had my dad. And, he did it in a great way, and I think he made me what I am today. So I always appreciated that. The second thing I thought about was how fortunate it was how the great assistant coaches I've had. I had John Irons with me the last bunch of years. I had Dennis Alice with me for every year I ever coached for the last 18 years. And I always thought I had the best basketball coaches around, freshman, JV. And I think that's what made me good. You can't have dumb assistant coaches because the coaches make you look good. And the last thing I thought about was the most important thing was the players. And I've been so fortunate, and 4 of those guys are getting honored here tonight. Those kids were such good kids. They worked hard, and all the coaches in here will tell you that you're only going to be as good as the players you got and how hard they're going to work. And fortunately, those kids always worked hard. Mike Carter, who couldn't be here tonight, my first year coaching varsity baseball as a head coach, Mike Carter was the player of the year in baseball. Then we had Bryce Nightingale, who couldn't be here tonight, and obviously Bryce player of the year in baseball, all area in basketball. Cameron Braden, who couldn't be here tonight, again, player of the year in baseball, great basketball player, great football player. And then we have Justin Kottman back here. Again, great basketball player, and he made me look good. And not only Justin, but his brother Jason, who is playing Division II right now at Dominican. When you coach these kids in high school, it's pretty special. But I think even what's more special is after what they do next. And all 4 of these guys, the things that someone's going to talk about Mike Carter here in a little bit. The things he's accomplished is just fantastic. Seeing Cameron play baseball in college, seeing Justin play basketball in college, and I was able to go see Justin play. And the thing about Justin, he keeps getting better. He is better this year than he was last year. And sometimes kids flatten out and they don't get any better. But I knew Justin's dad was not going to allow him to stop where he was, and he just kept getting better. And I know he was going to make him work, and I know Justin's mentality, he was going to keep working. So, these kids are all very special. And one more ex-player I'd like to mention is a guy named Ian Grady. Ian Grady was player of the year a couple years ago, and Ian was assistant coach at Slippery Rock. And just this past week, or maybe it's been 2 weeks ago now, he was the interim head coach, and they just took that label off, and now he's the head coach at Division II Slippery Rock. So I was talking to Ian a little bit on the phone today, and I'm very proud that he is at that point now. So, again, congratulations to all the student athletes here tonight, and thank you very much.
In golfing terms, the word mulligan means to try again, to take another shot with no penalty, a do-over. The next 2 award winners were seated here at the head table 1 year ago, but they were hardly invited back again because of a mulligan. In fact, I'll bet neither has ever taken a mulligan. It's probably a foreign word to both of them. Last year, John Blank and Slug Armstrong were honored by the Dapper Dan Club for finishing in the top 5 for the season in Golf Week magazine's Senior Amateur National Golf Rankings. This year they returned because they were both number 1 last year. The fact that they were both from Frostburg makes the achievement even more remarkable. No town or city, it's believed, whether it be the size of Frostburg or Philadelphia, has ever produced 2 number 1 ranked golfers in the Golf Week poll the same year. Perhaps to a lot of people who don't play the game, it looks like it's so easy. It is not. Only the really good golfers make it look easy. For decades now, John Blank and Slug Armstrong have been making it look easy. Like any other sport, there's no substitute for practice and grit. Only John and Slug know how many hours they've put in over the years. But now we and their competitors, and anyone who happens to check out Golf Week magazine, know that their hard work has made them number one in their field. They were recognized for their number one rankings at the Golf Week Player of the Year Senior Championships last month in Dade City, Florida. John Blank won 5 events and had 9 top 5 finishes last year, accumulating 8,308 points in the Golf Week rankings and finished number 1 in the Legends division. That's for golfers 70 years of age or older. He outdistanced the runner-up by almost 1,600 points. As the defending champion in the Legends division this year, he won the season opening tournament a few weeks ago. He has 4 top 5 finishes in his first 4 events this year, a first, a second, a fourth, and a fifth. Slug Armstrong also won 5 events last year on the Senior Amateur Tour and had 13 top 5 finishes to finish number 1 in the Super Seniors division, which is for golfers ages 65 to 69. He accumulated 8,820 ratings points in the Golf Week rankings, nearly 600 more than a number 2 ranked golfer. Defending his number 1 ranking in January during a 4-tournament swing in Florida this year, Slug had 3 top 10s, a second, a third, a sixth, and an 11th. Currently, Slug is number 1 in the Super Seniors, and John is number 2 in the Legends in this year's early rankings. Unfortunately, John is out of town and unable to be with us tonight. Slug will be accepting his award on his behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in congratulating, once again this year, champion golfers Slug Armstrong and John Blank.
Mike, thanks for the kind words, and to the Cumberland Times-News, thanks for the coverage. And Dapper Dan, 71 years of doing great things for the community. Let's hope it continues for another 71. You know, Golf Week, and just be thankful, by the way, I've got good news, bad news for me, that John's not here tonight. The bad news is I am now officially the oldest guy up here on the table. But the good news is, because he is so long-winded, we'll all be out here about a half hour earlier. You know, Golf Week is a monthly publication that, you know, writes articles about golf, golf instructions. It has a lot of tournament results. But one of their functions is they rank golfers from all over the country, all kinds of, about 11 to 12 different categories: PGA, LPGA, college men, college women, junior boys, junior girls, and they do senior amateurs for us golfers over 55. But they break it down into 3 categories. 55 to 64 is the senior division. I'm the super senior at 65 to 69. And John's division is the Legends division, 70 and over. And John was ecstatic to go into the Legends division, because the older the division you're in, the shorter the courses they set up. We all play this, really, we all play the same courses, but seniors play a longer course than I do, and I play a longer course than John does. Well, he was ecstatic. And I said, I don't know what you're so happy about. That's the last division. There are no more divisions after Legends. Well, Golf Week has just come out, and we just heard just a month ago that they are now also going to rank, starting in 2020, golfers over 80 and golfers over 85. I mean, golf is truly a lifetime sport, and we have one gentleman who's approaching 80. He's tickled to death because he's competing in the Legends division, and all these young guys, 70 and older, they have 10 years on them. So now next year, or in 2 years, he'll be able to compete with a gentleman that in his own age. And he said, you know, mark my word, within 4 years, they're going to rank golfers over 90. And he said, but I'm not sure this is going to work. We said, why not? He said, well, listen, currently we play 3 consecutive days of 18 holes of golf, 54 hole totals, You add up the scores at the end of 3 days, the low man's the champion. Very simple. He said, you know, if I make it to 90, I'm not sure I can play 3 consecutive days of 18 holes. He said, so I have proposed to Golf Week that they have for over 90, that we play 1 hole a day for 3 consecutive days. And he said, it's not going to be the low total that wins. It's the guy who can remember his score from the 3 holes that wins. So we played along with him. We said, okay, yeah, but what if you have a tie? He said, well, the playoff's easy. He said, we're not going to go out and play an extra hole of golf. The guy that can remember what he had for breakfast that morning is going to be the winner. You know, when you play on the Senior Amateur Tour, it's like a 3-day festival of senior moments. We always say it wouldn't be a senior golf event until a golf cart takes off, only to hear the golf bag and clubs crash behind it because the guy forgot to strap the clubs in. We had one guy drive hours to come to a tournament, only to get there and realize he forgot to enter it. We have a lot of times we'll play in either threesomes or foursomes. We have a foursome out, and we can see 3 guys out there. They've all hit their tee shots. 3 guys are ready to hit their second shots, and one guy is frantically looking for his ball. We know he's running out of time because at that time, golf, you had 5 minutes to find a lost ball where you got to go back and play it from where you hit the original ball. And sure enough, here he comes back in his golf cart. He's got to hit his tee shot again. And one of our guys said, lose that ball, huh? You couldn't find it? He goes, oh, no. I had it in my hand the whole time. I forgot to tee off with the other guys. He had driven out there. So this is what you get when you have senior golf. So how does, you got to wonder, how does, Frostburg and Allegany County is not exactly a golf mecca. We're not a golf destination. Myrtle Beach, Pinehurst, Florida, we're not. So how does 2 guys from Frostburg get ranked number 1? Well, I think it comes down to 3 things. One is luck. I mean, every coach up here has had a game, or every athlete's had a situation where a ball is bounced your way that may have affected the outcome in your favor and hurt your opponent. Golf is no different. You hit a ball into the trees, into the woods, it ricochets around. You may find it, or it might bounce out in the fairway. And so you have to have that kind of luck. The second thing is hard work. And I think, I read this someplace that, and I think it's kind of what I live by, successful people do what unsuccessful people are unwilling to do. And I think it really applies to John and I. We practice a lot. We're kind of called range rats. We're out in the range and practice all the time, perfecting our craft. But the biggest thing, I think, is opportunity, taking advantage of the opportunities you have. And I have the opportunity for 2 reasons. One, small, in the fact that after 31 years of teaching and coaching, I'm retired. I've been retired about 10 years. I have the time to do this. But the main reason I have the opportunity is my biggest thanks goes to my wife, Barb, of 42 years, isn't it? No, just kidding. Senior moment. As I know. Just kidding. But I have her blessing, her support. It's never, it's like, why are you going to enter that event? It's always, why don't you enter that event? So that's the kind of support. Without her blessing, without her thanks, her support, none of this would happen. And so, honey, thank you very much. Thanks.
Join us again next year for Senior Moments with Slug and John. Ladies and gentlemen, our next presenter is also someone I deal with on a weekly basis, maybe. He works in the state's attorney's office. He works again in the battle against the opioid crisis. He's not wearing a cape, but he's a superhero in my book. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Bean.
Paul. Good evening, everyone. Rose Duncan, a four-year starter and an anchor on the Bishop Walsh defense, led the Spartans to their most successful season in 15 years. The versatile senior who led the team in scoring as a sophomore is the first Spartan to be voted Defensive Player of the Year. Rose's talents and versatility were on display each year as she has played multiple positions. She made a big impact on the BW program since becoming a freshman starter at sweeper. As a sophomore, she led the team in scoring with 10 goals and 3 assists. The 10 goals were the third most in the area. She moved to the defensive side as a junior, and in addition to leading that unit, has also had 2 goals and 3 assists. According to Coach Ray Kitty, Rose's strongest asset was her smart decision-making and leadership she gave our team as one of the team captains. What a pleasure to coach, and the overall feeling to know that Rose is the leader of your team on the field. She's played soccer for 13 years and has played on several travel teams the last 4 seasons. She has a 4.07 grade point average, is a member of the National Honor Society, and also competes on the cross-country and softball teams at Bishop Walsh. She's also the senior class president. Please join me in congratulating the Times News Girls Soccer Defensive Player of the Year, Rose Duncan.
I'd like to start off by thanking the Dapper Dan for presenting me with this award. I'd also like to thank my coaches, head coach Dr. Ray Kitty, and assistant coaches Donnie Amon and John Myers for their time and dedication to the team. I'd also like to thank my team for their encouragement and pushing me to become my best. I'd also like to thank my parents for driving me to every practice and game and tournament, and for being there on the sidelines cheering for me, sometimes louder than I wanted, but I definitely knew they were there. And I'd also like to thank Bishop Walsh for the opportunity to play soccer. Thank you.
Sorry, Paul, I just stepped on Paul's foot there. Gabby White, whose skill and versatility may be topped only by her consistency and dependability, is a senior middle fielder and forward, and was a 4-year varsity player at Mountain Ridge, where she started every game since her freshman year. During that span, the Miners won just about everything, including area league, section, and region championships. White finished third in the area in scoring, averaging 1.87 points per game, and her 12 goals were the third most in the area. She also ranked third in the Appalachian Mountain Athletic Conference in scoring with 7 goals and an assist for 15 points in 7 games and a 2.14 average. Mountain Ridge went 10-5-1 overall this year and won the AMAC with a 7-0 record. In her career with the Miners, the team never lost a league game. While White proved to be a dangerous weapon on offense, she remained one of the top defenders as well. Mountain Ridge had 7 shutouts, allowed only 2 goals in league play, and 16 goals in 16 games. According to Coach Jean Lescalette, Gabby's quickness made it difficult for her to be kept in check by one player, and her speed made her a threat to break away and get a shot on goal from almost anywhere in the attacking half of the field. She provided a lot of stability for our team in the midfield and was as effective pressuring her opponents as she was in attacking their goal. No matter where she played, Gabby had a positive impact on our team and made a difference in all 68 games that she played in. Please join me in congratulating the Times News Girls Soccer Offensive Player of the Year, Gabby White.
I'm so honored to be here tonight and grateful to be the recipient of this award. I'd like to take a moment and thank my coaches, teammates, and family. Throughout the 4 years of high school, I've had the same coaches that have pushed me to excel in everything I do. They taught me to always keep fighting no matter what the outcome of the game is, how to be a great leader on and off the soccer field, and that putting in hard work gets you great rewards. It has been a great 4 years, and I'm so grateful I got the opportunity to become one of your players. I also would like to thank my teammates, who without, none of this would have been possible. I am so grateful that I had the opportunity to be their captain and hopefully inspired them on and off the soccer field. They have always pushed me to practice and play harder. I have made some of the best memories with them that I will always cherish. Lastly, I would like to thank my mom and dad. They have always pushed me to do my best since I was a little girl. From the beginning, they were always my biggest fans, providing me with a positive support system. I wouldn't be where I am without them today. Thank you.
Haley Turnett was the busiest goalkeeper in the area. She was the best too, according to a vote of the area's head coaches. Haley, a senior, made 199 saves this year and allowed only 26 goals for a .884 percentage, third best in the area. She also had a pair of shutouts. According to Coach Mark Kowalski, Haley is one of the hardest workers on the team, whether we are working on player skills, goalkeeping drills, or conditioning. She pushes herself to be the best she can be at all times. The close games that we won turned out our way because Haley is such a strong goalkeeper. When an attacker would get an opportunity to score, she would come up with a huge save and preserve our lead. As a junior, Haley led the area with a .861 save percentage, making 93 saves and allowing 15 goals. Please join me in congratulating the Miriam Sincel Esquire Award for Girls Soccer Goalkeeper of the Year to Haley Turnett.
I am a junior, not a senior, just saying. To start off, I would like to thank all of the people involved that made today possible. I'd also like to thank all my coaches who have put me in this position for the past 2 years to receive this award. I am and will continue to be grateful for all of the coaching and support I've gotten in the past leading up to this point. I want to thank all of my family and friends for being by my side and always giving loving and supporting advice. I also would like to thank my teammates. Sorry, the wind's getting to me. And opposing teammates. Whether they are on my team or the other team, they always enhance my abilities and push me to do better. Lastly, I would like to thank all of the people, mostly my parents and coaches, who have given me a truly amazing opportunity. Thank you.
Allegany's Claire Marlowe, who found the back of the net more often than anyone, led her team to 13 wins and the city championship. Marlowe was far more than just a scorer for the Campers, whose 13-2-1 record was the best since the 13-1-1 team of 2007. A 4-year varsity starter and 2-year team captain, Marlowe moved to a forward position this year and delivered every night out. She won the area, city, and Appalachian Mountain Athletic Conference scoring titles while leading the Campers to their 13-2-1 overall record, which included a 4-0 record in the city and a 7-1 record in the AMAC. Her 21 goals tied her with Bishop Walsh's Aaron Langan for the most in the area. Her 8 assists were also tops among all players, as were her 50 points and 3.12 per game scoring average. No other player averaged more than 2.50. According to Coach Matt Marlowe, this was her first year as a forward, and she was able to shine, leading the area in scoring. She also led the team in assists because she's not a selfish player and never hesitated to pass the ball if she thought a teammate was in a better position for the goal. She led the city with 6 goals and 3 assists and a 3.75 average, nearly double the next nearest scorer. She led the AMAC with 12 goals and 5 assists for 29 points in 8 games. In her career, she had 33 goals and 24 assists. The versatile senior began playing at age 5 and has played club soccer for Athletica in Morgantown for several years, winning 3 state championships and playing in the Region 1 championship tournament 4 times. She also played on the West Virginia Olympic Development Team for 2 years. Please join me in congratulating the Times News Girls Soccer Co-Player of the Year, Claire Marlowe.
First of all, I would like to thank the Dapper Dan and the Times News for this award. I know this is an individual award, but it really reflects on our whole team, coaching staff, and parents at Allegany. So thank you to everyone who has contributed to our best season in 11 years. I'm happy that I was able to be a part of it. Thank you.
Mountain Ridge's Grace Trainum, who excelled on both sides of the field and in many ways was the heart and soul of the Mountain Ridge Miners. A senior co-captain, Trainum was a 4-year varsity player and 3-year starter during one of the most successful spans in girls soccer history. The Miners piled up a 54-10-4 overall record and were 29-0-2 in the Appalachian Mountain Athletic Conference the last 4 years. Trainum, as a midfielder, was one of the big reasons for all the success. Her contributions and importance to the team were easily noticeable, and head coach Jean Lescalette had no trouble describing it. Linus had his blanket, King Arthur had his sword, and we had Grace Trainum. She was a player that provided the security against attacks that limit other teams to few opportunities to shoot, let alone score, as well as the weapons necessary to start our assault on the opposition's goal. Trainum played in 67 varsity games and started 41 of them. With 16 goals and 28 assists, she averaged nearly a point per game in her high school career. Mountain Ridge had a 10-5-1 record this year. While 5 losses is a bit of an uncharacteristic number for the Miners, only one of the 5 were to an area team, and they repeated as Appalachian Mountain Athletic Conference champions with a 7-0 record. They were also sectional champs and came 1 game short of the state tournament. From her midfield position, Trainum finished 15th in the area in scoring with 5 goals, 3 assists, and 13 points. She also was a big part of a defense that had 7 shutouts and gave up only 16 goals for the season and only 2 in 7 conference games. Please join me in congratulating the Times News Girls Soccer Co-Player of the Year, Grace Trainum.
I would first like to thank the Dapper Dan organization and the Cumberland Times News for the recognition this evening. In addition to soccer skills, the sport of soccer has equipped me with the essential tools and character traits that I can carry throughout life, such as teamwork, cooperation, leadership, and strong work ethic. As I move forward into college, pursuing a degree in chemical engineering, I will take these experiences and use them as a foundation in my future endeavors. I would like to thank my high school coach, Jean Lescalette, for giving me the opportunity to have a leadership position that has allowed me to make a positive impact on my teammates. I also need to thank my parents and teammates for their support. I am thankful to receive this award and am humbled to be among such distinguished guests. Thank you.
My final award goes to the Bishop Walsh boys soccer team for winning the private school boys soccer state championship this year. I had a whole big thing written out here, and then I heard Mike Matthews give his presentation to the Rowans, and he stole all of it. So what I think might suffice is if I simply read what the plaque says. In recognition of the Bishop Walsh Spartans boys soccer team and their co-head coaches, Tim and Joe Rowan, for bringing back to the Cumberland area and to Allegheny County the Maryland Private Schools State Championship with a 15-3-1 season. Please join me in recognizing the 2018 Bishop Walsh boys soccer team.
Thank you very much. Before I talk about the championship, I forgot to mention my brother-in-law, Bruce, is also here, and I thank him for his support. He's always been very supportive of Tim and I. Him and Tim were classmates at Valley High School, graduated in 1970. What this team accomplished this year was nothing short of amazing. You consider the size of Bishop Walsh. We graduate probably this year, 30 to 38 students. We're beating teams that are 5 and 6 times bigger than us to win the city championship, the area championship, the co-champs with Northern for the SMAC, and then the state championship. So what these guys did this year was just amazing to me. There's 2 main reasons this team did as well as they did. The first is Coach Tim, and when you talk about greatest coaches of all time, he's on the list. He's obviously the greatest soccer coach of all time, but I'm talking greatest coaches in Allegany County in any sport. I challenged the coaches at this year's coaches meeting to do what he has done, which is to leave his sport better than what he found it. He was a driving force behind a lot of things that are happening with soccer in this area now, with the major awards for both boys and girls. He's done a lot of work behind the scenes on a lot of stuff. He also, with this team, they lit a fire under him. We went 5-0 initially, which is where we expected to be. We went with a new formation this year. Everything was going great. We ended up losing 2 games, and the kids immediately wanted to switch back to our old formation. At that point, as I said, it lit a fire under Tim, and he began to call the kids out on their play. And he challenged 3 of our captains, and I think those captains rose to the occasion and carried us for the rest of the season. The second group, obviously, is the group of gentlemen that are sitting in the back who worked all summer long, who worked in the spring in camp. They played on travel teams. They did conditioning in the summer. They started practice 2-a-days on August the 1st. Never complained, at least not to us, because they knew if they did complain what would happen. But this team, usually we played a 3-4-3, and we formed our team towards our formation. This year we went to a 3-2 because that's the way our talent best suited it. To get to the state championship, we ended up playing Goretti a week before that. Goretti beats us 5-1. Goretti had scored 3 goals in the first 14 minutes of the game. No team had scored 3 goals on us the entire season in a game, let alone 3 in the first 14 minutes. I think at that point our kids really picked themselves up, and for the rest of the game we played even soccer with Goretti. We get to the state championship round, and we played Goretti in the round robin, and I think our kids felt from the week before and also at that Goretti kind of disrespected us, which was probably the wrong thing to do. We had a week to prepare for Goretti because that's who we figured we'd be playing in the championship. We went to a defensive set, which we never do unless we're winning a game. We went to a 4-4-2, and we were able to hold Goretti to 1 goal, which is exactly where we wanted to at halftime. Dr. Kitty was at the game till halftime and told me later he didn't think there was any way in the world that we would ever score against Goretti. The kids played them tough, and with 20 minutes to go, we switched our formation to an offensive set, and Goretti did not make any adjustments. With under 14 minutes to go, we were able to get Nick Foltz, who was the best offensive player in the area, open, hit him with a beautiful ball, and he took it down and scored. And as in dramatic fashion, we end up scoring the game winner with under 30 seconds to go. This team scored, 3 or 4 goals that way. We beat Calvary in the last 30 seconds. We beat Southern twice in the last 30 seconds. This team believed that they could win every game that they played. So I'm very proud of that group, and I'd like to introduce the boys that are here tonight. Please stand and remain standing till I introduce everybody. 10th graders, Adele Fassell, Jack Twigg, Justin Riley, Lucas Cessna, Connor Riley. Juniors, Hunter Latner, Ethan Hoppert, Taha Sadiq, Roland Molen, Caleb Ziegler, Tyler Dixon, Seth Higson, Jason Rossi. Seniors, Carter Barron, Christopher Fritz, Peter Tesser, Nick Foltz, Maddie Denola, Ben Koch. Did I leave anybody out that's not here? I say, guys, congratulations on a wonderful season. What you did was amazing. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is from my alma mater, Frostburg State University. I met him about a year and a half ago, and the first thing that I felt was, boy, he's got credibility. And I judge coaches that way because I've seen coaches that were successful that weren't credible, and it doesn't last long. This guy, it's going to last a long time because, oh, okay, that was a chair. I thought the wind was talking to me again. But I want to let you know that the program at Frostburg State is in great hands with our next speaker. Please welcome back to the Dapper Dan this year, Delane Fitzgerald.
I'm a little upset. Last year at the end of this, Adam Stern and Sean Verdisky promised me that I was getting an award this year, and as I look down all of this, there's still no award for me. But I had been promised that I was going to get the award for the worst accent in the room this year, and it has not happened yet. Roxione and Paul Mullen even told me that they were going to put a guy on the award with overalls on and a corncob pipe hanging out of his mouth. None of that's true. But on things I think that are humorous. I got up this morning in Southern Virginia and drove up here and had to get to Frostburg a little bit early to get ready for the dinner tonight. And as I got up in Southern Virginia this morning, it was 65 degrees and there wasn't a cloud in the sky and the wind wasn't blowing 1 mile an hour. And I'm coming up the road and I said, this is great. I said, this is phenomenal. When I got out of the car at my house in Frostburg, it's 40 degrees and the wind's blowing about 35 miles an hour. And I looked up and I said, there is a God, and I said, he does have a sense of humor. And then the last one for the day, Coach Tom Bosley, wake up, Coach, wake up. Coach was outside earlier telling me about Dick Bender that was going to speak and that he knew Dick Bender and he was excited to hear him speak. And I'm sitting there wondering, hey, Coach, and I never said it. I smiled and did like this. I said, why the hell is he telling me the owner of Billy Bender Chevrolet is going to speak tonight? I hadn't heard of Coach Bender. I now have. It was great. And I'm really happy that he doesn't own a Chevrolet place here in the area. Last year when we were here, talked a little bit about our football program and giving back to the area in Allegany County and Cumberland and Frostburg. And it's a real priority with our coaching staff and our players now because they've grown to be selfless and buy into this. But I offered us up as a volunteer project for the city of Cumberland. And Roxione emailed me the following day and said, you offered and we're taking your offer. So we came down in March of last year on a cold, rainy day, about 135 players, and we picked up somewhere between 26 and 28 dump truck loads of trash out of the city of Cumberland. Like to offer that out again, and we would be really excited to do that. The thing I would like in here is if there's some coaches, and it doesn't matter what the sport is, if there's some coaches that would like to volunteer with us, to help the city of Cumberland, help the city of Frostburg, anything that we're doing for our volunteer projects, we will take your help. A couple of the things that we're going to do this spring is we're going to volunteer in Cumberland again and do that. Got an enormous amount of pride out of doing that last year, and we were treated really well by the city of Cumberland for doing that. We're also going to do a bone marrow drive in March or April for bone marrow patients and doing that. And I've gotten an education with how easy it is. They swab the inside of your mouth, and if your DNA matches someone that has blood cancer, then they come back to you and see if you want to donate to help save a life. One of the easiest things you can do to save someone's life. But we're going to do that this spring. But that leaves us with 2 or 3 other volunteer projects that we need to fill the spring with. So if you have something, please email me. Love to talk about helping. love to help this area. This county, Cumberland, Frostburg, Lavelle, and all the other surrounding towns, all the way down into Westernport and up into Garrett County, have been really, really good to us. And with whom much is given, much is expected, we would like to give back. And so please email me and let me know. Moving into Frostburg football. Been 31-4 the last 3 years, 2 conference titles. We were 6 inches away from being 3 straight conference titles. With all that, the university's decided that we're moving to Division II. So we'll go NCAA Division II in fall of 2019, and the entire university will be NCAA Division II, and we're joining the Mountain East Conference, which is a very good athletic conference. Better in some sports than others, but all conferences are. We are excited beyond belief for the move, for the transition into Division II. Our administration is doing it right, and we're getting 25% of our money this year, and 25% next year, and 25% the year after that, until we fully fund it in year 4. And what that means for Frostburg football is there's some rough waters ahead, because in 2019 we'll have 25% of our money, and everybody on the schedule's got 100%. So there's some rough waters ahead, and going to be some rough Saturdays. Well, I like to consider myself a builder, and I am going to thoroughly enjoy building the Frostburg football program over the next 4 years. It should be great. Great administration up there that I work for, and I have great assistant coaches, and we've got a great roster of players right now. Moving forward, the reason that we're here tonight, hey, you young men back in the back, put your cell phones down, listen for the next 2 minutes. Guarantee you it's beneficial to you. Every young person in this room, okay? We're here to celebrate what Dapper Dan represents and what this banquet represents, which is you guys improving, you ladies and gentlemen, improving your lives through athletics and learning from athletics and what athletics does for you going forward, okay? And I want you to hear a couple things real quick, okay? But life is a team game. All right, understand that those of you playing team sports, understand life's a team game. Your marriage, one of these days, will become a team game, okay? Your work becomes a team game. Your family becomes a team game. You're getting taught this through whatever sport it is that you're participating in now and that you're going to participate in the future. Make sure you understand that. Even if you're an individualized sport, I am inspired by Brandon Pickrell, young man, hats off to you. You are an inspiration. He talked about the love and caring that his teammates and coaches had for him running cross country. Even in the individual sports, it's still a team. It's a team, and life is a team game, okay? Hey, what does athletics teach you? Tolerance of others, tolerance of differences. All the locker rooms you're in, some are small, some are big, like a football locker room. Everybody in that locker room is different. Okay, different parents, different block, different side of the city. They come from different circumstances, everybody. But it teaches you difference of others, tolerance of others. Hey, athletics, it teaches you that work comes before success. You've got to put in the work before you can be successful. You're all going to find out when you become adults that the work has to come before the success. It always does. And then competition, okay? It teaches you to have a competitive attitude, a competitive mentality with whatever you're carrying into life. And I'll give you my story that relates to me being here tonight. I was the head coach at a little religious school in Southern Virginia that wasn't very good. And we had everything against us. We had 100 football players, only had 600 students in the whole school. So we were a huge part of the population, but didn't have a lot of opportunities to be successful. We were able to put it together for a couple years and have success. But where this leads into athletics is this, okay? Athletics taught me to compete in everything I do. They had over 125 applications for the Frostburg State football job. And I wanted the job. I liked this area. I went to junior college at Potomac State in Kaiser, West Virginia. Loved this area. Got to know Lavelle and Cumberland and Frostburg through that. But I wanted to be around here, and I thought Frostburg State was a sleeping giant. I thought it was a great opportunity to do something special at a school that hadn't done anything special in a long, long time. How do I get from number 125 up to number 1 to get hired, okay? I had a losing record as a head coach down there, and this is how I did it. I wrote a personalized handwritten letter to every single person at the university that I thought was involved in the hiring process for 30 straight days. And it started out a couple dozen. And then as I realized who was going to make the decisions, I got it narrowed down to 12 or 16 people. And I sit every day and wrote a personalized note 30 straight days to all of them until I was hired. And I like the story. I think the story is meaningful, but here's what you have to understand, okay? I was a college football head coach, but I competed for 30 straight days to get a better job and a job that I wanted. I competed against the other 125 people to get the job. You guys understand through the athletics that you're participating in now, continue to compete. Compete every day in athletics and then compete in life. It'll help you become successful. Hey, athletics teaches you toughness. And I won't spend another 5 minutes talking about toughness, but the toughness that you take from the sport that you play, you're going to need it in life, okay? Hey, sports teaches you resiliency. It teaches you how to bounce back, how to handle adversity. You're going to face adversity in life, okay? Mr. Webb over there talked about the B side. When you face the B side, use the toughness that you've learned through the sport that you've played to bounce back and be successful with the B side. And then Mr. Billy Bender, Coach Dick Bender. He used grit. Love it. Okay, love it. I use another word for grit, stick-to-itiveness. The stick-to-itiveness, if you've got stick-to-itiveness in the game that you're playing, you'll be successful in it. And he talked about grit, showing up and doing something, expecting nothing for it every day. Show up and expect to get better every day without getting any award for it. Okay? If you do that in life, if you have stick-to-itiveness and you just keep showing up and getting better each day, you end up extremely successful in life. Guys, thank y'all for having me. Thank you to the Dapper Dan Club and its executive directors for inviting me. I'm humbled and honored.
And you better volunteer. Really, after hearing Delane there, I know that I would send my kid there any day because he has that credibility, he has the fire, and he wants to be here, and that means a lot. Thank you, Coach. Thank you. I am a bit confused, though, that we have a coach from Clemson that sounds like he's from Frostburg and a coach from Frostburg that sounds like he's from Clemson, South Carolina. Can't figure that out. Joining us now is a longtime friend of mine. He is the editor of the Cumberland Times News Sports section, Mike Burke. Mike?
Thank you very much, Paul. I feel as though I should run through a bolted door now. Thank you, Coach Fitzgerald, for your inspiration, and thank you for being here again. Also, I'd like to thank the Dapper Dan for recognizing the career and the work of Ted Eric. I never, ever really thought I'd stand up here in front of a group of people and say this, but Ted is really a great person. And I've known Ted since we were both pretty young. And to be honest with you, Ted was kind of a pain in the arse little kid. And he's not denying it either. One day along the way, something happened to Ted and it worked. And I can remember we've been friends from the beginning, and we were together one day talking about, for whatever reason, the sporting news. And I said, I just don't like what's going on with the sporting news, so I canceled my subscription. He said, really? He said, I could never cancel my sporting news. I said, well, my mother isn't very happy about it. She's on me all the time because she loved the sporting news too. So Ted, at that point, started taking his sporting news after he was finished with it over to Mother's house. And it's when Tristan and Trenton were just real little kids. I think it was mostly Trenton. And Trenton would run up and leave the sporting news in my mother's mailbox, and Mother would jump out the side door and scare him. But over the years, it got to the point where I was calling him Eddie Haskell because I was taking grief because her own son wouldn't get her the sporting news, but the basketball coach at Allegany will. And my mother lived in the heart of South End, and she was Fort Hill all the way. And it got to the point where she even decreed, particularly when Trenton was playing, that it would be okay if we rooted for Allegany basketball as long as they weren't playing Fort Hill. But Ted, I know my mother really appreciated that, and I certainly did too. Thank you. And one more announcement, Dr. Ray Kitty, is he still here? Principal Kitty, your car's being towed right now for no reason. First, I'd like to say filthy is a common term in baseball. It describes a pitcher whose pitch is darn near impossible to hit. Bryce Nightingale, for instance, is a filthy pitcher. Bryce Nightingale's got filthy stuff. Filthy is a compliment to a pitcher said from the point of view of a batter. It is a common term in baseball because it is such an uncommon occurrence. Along that same vein, do you want to hear about sick? Do you want to know what's sick? I'll tell you what's sick. 11 seasons, 131 wins, 14 losses, winning percentage .903, 5 state championships, state record 6 straight state championship game appearances. That's sick. In the same vein that filthy is good. In this case, while sick refers to remarkable, what was even more remarkable than what had come in the previous 10 seasons, the 2018 Sentinels, a team everybody believed would enjoy a good season with 8 or 9 wins, won 13 games, and they didn't lose any, and they won another state championship. The 2018 Fort Hill Sentinels were the embodiment of the word team. I've never had a group that has combined themselves as much as a team as these guys have, Coach Todd Apple said after the state championship game. These kids proved this year that there were no superstars, and they were the best group as a team that I think we had in the past 6 years. And it's so ironic, very ironic, that this group became a team the way they did. Yet, believe it or not, Apple said, it's not about football. It's about the growth that they make as individuals through the 4 years and the understanding of what it takes to be a man later in life, how to take care of people later on, because you are responsible and you have accountability. I think if you do those things, you can win football games. I think football is a microcosm of life. It's a lot of hard work. You get knocked down, you don't have success like last year here. You learn how to work through it. You learn how to lean on God. You learn how to lean on each other. You learn a lot of things. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2018 High School Football Coach of the Year, Todd Apple of Fort Hill High School.
Thanks, Mike, for all the kind words. You know what I hate? Following Delana Fitzgerald. And I'm a football coach, you know. I said last year I'm not like him. And that's not a dig on him. It's just I'm more of the passive, more of the love. I guess the hippie coach. I don't know what that means, but I'm not like Delana. I can say things like Delana. I can say things like show up every day. I had a 2.3 GPA in high school, and I didn't show up every day in high school, but when I started in college, as far as going to school, I showed up every day there. I have 250 sick days at Fort Hill High School that I can use at any time. I show up there. If you show up, you're going to win a battle. You're going to win a lot of your battles in life, whether you're a father, a husband, a coach, a player, all those things. You're going to win a lot of battles. When I write these speeches, I feel like it's a big responsibility because I have a platform. And I sit in front of my computer and I do speech 1. I say, oh, that's too aggressive. That's true, isn't it? Speech 2, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit too passive. But I got to teach them something. So I'm going to do all my thank yous and do what I'm supposed to do, and that's true. There's a lot of thanks to give out. I want to thank the Dapper Dan for electing me Golden Helmet Award winner. It's definitely an honor. No matter how many times that people honor you, you should show up again. and be honored. Thank you, Coca-Cola. I hope they still sponsor the award. I might be wrong about that. But I want to thank Coca-Cola for sponsoring the award. I want to congratulate all the award winners tonight. The hard work that you put in definitely is rewarded here tonight. You guys have done a wonderful job, all the athletes in the back, especially Ty. Coach Bender said about reading about Ty's stats in the paper. I don't know many of Ty's stats. I just know Ty's a pretty good person, and hopefully he'll be a light for many people once he gets the job that he deserves. I always say this, and this is true. Whether people like hearing it or not, I'm going to say it. I want to thank the Lord Jesus for not just the Coach of the Year award, but protecting me and guiding me to be able to be the coach at Fort Hill for the last 11 years. And most of all, be a father, a husband, a brother, a son. He gives me the platform to help others through Fort Hill football, and I'm extremely thankful for that, extremely. Like I said, I 2.3 GPA when I was in high school, grew up 2 blocks from Stadium, and I never thought I'd be speaking to you guys and Mike Burke saying nice things about me. I know I'm not perfect, and I never will be, but he accepts me and protects me in all circumstances. I want to thank my family, my wife, Suzanne, my beautiful daughter, Harper, my son, Walker, my mother-in-law, Sue Lewis, for all the prayers, my mom and dad, and Robert, my father-in-law, who are watching down on us now. We, as a family, miss them very much, but they live within us every day. I want to thank the entire football team, and Mike said that I said that they were the team that became the team more so in the last 6 years, and that's true. It's no secret that my son is a senior this year, and when they came in as freshmen, I was like, Lord, why is my son with this group of kids? Man. And now there's 6 of them behind me. Because they were such misfits. They came from every different direction. Delane said about a locker room, a football locker room. Fort Hill football locker room is Flintstone, Old Town, South End, poor, black, white. We're much Mexican. Yeah, they help me out all the time. But we learn how to get along, and we learn how to work as a team. And for such adversity in their own lives, man, did they come together as a team. And when no one expected them to do that, it's amazing. I think God works miracles every day. We just got to open up our eyes and watch for them. And this group, they won't admit it. They're not me. They don't recognize. Some of them will, God and the miracles that he works. But later on down the road, if that seed has been planted, they're going to say, wow, man, that really happened. I want to read something, and I know I get to speak later in the evening, and everybody wants to go home, and I want to talk a lot. But I want to share something with you about platforms. Every one of us has a platform, big, small, whatever it may be. This is February 24th in the Tony Dungy book that we read before games. This is February 24th. Today is February 24th, right? This is what it says. And maybe it'll connect like it connects with the football team. God has given everyone a platform. Some of us, those are broad and highly visible, but others are small, or at least they seem that way. A small platform is huge when it impacts even one person who goes on to impact many. God is the author of our platform, and he gives us the privilege of using it to influence others. Sometimes we don't see the results of the investments in other people's lives for years to come, if at all. But everyone's platform is unique, and God has a plan for all of us. You may not be a Heisman Trophy winner or a Super Bowl champion, but you have influence. A platform that may seem small to you have lasting impact that you will only discover in eternity. That's why it's important to never sell your platform short. God is a master of doing things with small beginnings, and He has put you where you are and surrounded you with the people you know for a reason. I'm going to give you some examples, all right? Like I look over at that table, and I have a brother, and I'm going to give you more than just him. But I have a brother who I always said, Mom always portrayed as the good son. And he was. But going through a divorce when you're a kid, you have to lean on people. And he never said no to me, like taking me to a friend's house or to go have a catch. That was his platform. He had that platform to guide me and mentor me when he didn't have to. And now I got the big platform because of his small platform. My mom, who was a single mom, worked 3 jobs, went to college with us so we could get more financial aid. She was smart that way, and we didn't have as many student loans because she was smart. But she cooked meals, even though she worked all those jobs. She had that small platform. And because she had that small platform, Todd has that big platform, which is amazing. So wherever you are, you have a platform. If you're invested in somebody's life and they influence many other people on a broad range, you have that platform. I'm just fortunate enough to have a bigger platform. Like I was like, if Ty Johnson reaches the world, I feel like I had a little bit of piece of that. But I give ownership to Ty Johnson for a lot of things. But I had a piece of that where he now has a broad platform. The other thing I want to talk to you about truth. One of the biggest things that I get myself in trouble with is telling the truth. Because with truth comes problems. And if you tell the truth where other people around you are hiding behind lies and just because they want their own personal agenda, they don't like you infringing upon what they want to achieve. But I encourage you, I really encourage you, no matter how much backlashes you have, tell the truth. Because the kids always make fun of me because I always said, what's number 1 rule in the house? And they'll say truth. Or be honest. But if you do that, I think you can go a long way. You'll have respect at the end of the day, even though some people won't like you for having that respect. So I have another chance to get up here, and maybe I can talk a little bit more, but I am so thankful of being the coach at Fort Hill. I am so thankful of my family. I am so thankful of my kids. I am so thankful of so many things. We get caught up in being angry about the world and what the world shorts us with. But look around you and what you have. Be thankful. So I'll be back. Thank you.
Back sooner, but I was waiting for those guys. That's not true. For a team that was not expected to be known for its offense, then wasn't really thought of for its offense, even when it was on its late season roll. The undefeated state champion Fort Hill Sentinels were well represented, not only by 1,000-yard rusher Carter Swan, but by senior halfbacks Tyreek Powell and Braden Askins, who have been selected co-recipients of the Morton W. Peskin Senior Memorial Award as the 2018 High School Football Offensive Player of the Year. These kids deserve to share because they shared the rent together, said Coach Apple. Collectively, together they made it work by blocking for each other. Collectively, they made it work. For a group of kids who didn't get much credit coming in, these kids had each other's backs. Tyreek Powell was the second leading rusher for the Sentinels with 911 yards for 7 yards a carry. He had 8 rushing touchdowns and 10 overall, gaining 38 first downs with a long run of 65 yards. He also had 2 receptions for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns, with the long being 56 yards. Tyreek really blossomed into a good leader, Coach Apple said. He came up big for us in the homecoming game. It was 3rd and forever, and he ran a sweep and found a big hole and took off. He made it happen for us. He played with a torn labrum all year, but he never complained about it. He went out every down and played. And Tyreek is also the recipient of the Morton W. Peskin Senior Memorial Award as Area Offensive Player of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, Tyreek Powell of Fort Hill High School.
First, I'd like to thank the Dapper Dan and the Times News for selecting me for this award. I'd like to thank my mom and my grandfather for supporting me at every football game this season. And I'd like to also thank my late father for everything he's put me through my whole life to get me to where I'm at today. And the Fort Hill community for helping us every game throughout the season, and the Red Huddle for providing meals for us and everything. And most importantly, I'd like to thank Coach Apple for not only being a good coach, but a great friend and a mentor for me, especially after I lost my father. He's a big part of my life. So I got him crying. Thank you.
Braden Askins rushed for 758 yards on the season, averaged 11.3 yards per carry, and rushed for 9 touchdowns, 16 first downs with a long run of 65 yards. He had 4 receptions for 47 yards and 1 touchdown. He even completed a pass for 32 yards and a touchdown. He was also Fort Hill's chief kick returner and starting safety, scoring 12 touchdowns in all. Whenever he was on the field, regardless of what position he was playing, either side of the ball, Braden Askins was a threat to score. He's an all-around player, Coach Apple said. As far as a player touching the ball, he's our best. He's one of the most athletic players I've ever coached just because of his physical capabilities. Braden catches the ball, he runs the ball, he blocks kicks, and he returns kicks. He does everything an all-around football player should do. I think, and I'm biased, in my opinion, if he's not the best athlete in the area, he is one of the top athletes in the area. Ladies and gentlemen, Offensive Player of the Year, Braden Askins of Fort Hill High School.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I know y'all are getting tired of sitting here. But I just want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting me, my team, Coach Apple, most of all, my family. I'd like to big shout out to all the other award winners. Y'all are great, you feel me? Keep doing what you're doing. But thank you.
Great player always knows the field, right? Good job, Braden. Our next presenter, when I was growing up, he was the man in Cumberland. He's 3 years older than me, but he's always been approachable. He's always been friendly to me, and I always appreciated that. Please welcome back the former University of Maryland quarterback, Dapper Dan Executive Board member Mark Mangus. Mark?
Thank you very much, Paul. Pleasure to be here. I personally love to follow Coach Delane Fitzgerald and Coach Todd Apple, because anyone that started to get a little dreary out there, boy, they snap you right back to attention. And that's a pleasure for me. I'd like to congratulate AJ and Aiden Tyler tonight for that award, and congratulations to all of tonight's award winners. I'd also like to congratulate Shakur Trimble. The last 2 years, Shakur has worn a retired jersey, the retired jersey of Steve Trimble. And he has filled that jersey beautifully. Congratulations, Mike. God bless you, Steve. Rest in peace in heaven. Pepsi High School Football Defensive Player of the Year are co-recipients. They're both Fort Hill seniors. They're so much alike in the way that neither player started as a junior. Wyatt Brem started in the state championship game, but for almost the entire season, neither player started as a junior. But it was the Fort Hill way. The Fort Hill way is you work extremely hard, and you work to improve, and you bide your time, and you shine when the opportunity presents itself. And that's what these two young guys did. They really came out of nowhere this year, as did several others we'll mention in a little while. They were part of a smothering defense, a dominant defense, a starting unit that gave up only 37 points the entire year in 13 games. We'll start with Colton Crabtree, who has a 4.1 GPA. He led Fort Hill in the area in tackles with 66 solos and 94 assists for a total of 160 tackles. He had 2 interceptions, both of which he returned for touchdowns. He had 12 tackles for loss and 1 quarterback sack. No one knew about Colton Crabtree coming into this year, but they know about him now. The Pepsi High School Football Defensive Player of the Year co-recipient from Fort Hill High School, Colton Crabtree.
I would like to thank the Dapper Dan for this award and the Times News for voting for me. I would like to thank my parents for pushing me hard all the time. I would also like to thank my coaches for putting all the time in that they do. They have made me the player I became. Special thanks to Coach Maine for always working with me since freshman year. I would like to thank Coach Apple for being the great coach he is and being an even better mentor to me and my teammates. Also, I would like to thank my teammates for being brothers and always staying together. Thank you.
I would also like to thank and congratulate Ty Johnson for his 3rd consecutive record-breaking top award for Dapper Dan this year. And he is proof that nice guys do finish first. So good luck to Ty. I know he's got his senior day, or his senior day is coming up at the end of March, I think the last weekend in March. The draft is the last weekend in April. He's working hard, and I'm so happy he's graduated because of his quote last year about his future standing on a pile of books was tremendous. But I am happy that he has left Maryland because with all the other Maryland fans, we are so frustrated with how they just underutilized the young man. So we wish him the best. He has a great career ahead of him. He's had a great career behind him, and he's a great guy. Good luck, Ty. The other recipient is Wyatt Brem. Wyatt is a 6'2", 195-pound guy that runs a 4.66 40-yard dash. And to watch him dominate on the corner this year on defense was outstanding. 47 solo tackles and 64 assists for a total of 111. 14 quarterback sacks, 20 tackles for loss. That means you're spending a lot of time in the other team's backfield. 4 forced fumbles, 30 quarterback pressures, 11 quarterback hits, 3 pass breakups. Coach Todd Apple said this is one of the better defenses I've ever coached. It is especially pleasing that Colton and Wyatt have been selected for this award. The Pepsi High School Football Defensive Player of the Year co-recipient for Fort Hill High School, Wyatt Brem.
Actually, I'm not going to read off that. I'm just going to start off by thanking Times News and Dapper Dan for selecting me for this award, and my co-winner too. And then I want to thank my coaches and my family for always believing in me and following me through this journey and helping me through all my challenges. And then mostly of all, I want to thank Coach Apple for not just improving my skills on the field, but improving my person and making me a better person overall. And then I want a big shout out for my brothers on the field that's always had my back. Go Big Red.
Cumberland Times News High School Football Player of the Year are also co-recipients. Sepha Pawali from Mountain Ridge High School and Carter Swan from Fort Hill High School. Sepha Pawali, sit back and listen and enjoy this. He set school records, most yards rushing, 1,981 yards in 10 games, which is 198.1 yards a game. Longest run from scrimmage, 97 yards. Rushing yards in a single game, 370 versus Spring Mill. TDs in a game, 6. He did it twice. And TDs in a season, 28. But he also played defense, where he led the team with 112 tackles, 7 tackles for loss. He intercepted 2 passes, recovered 2 fumbles, and returned 1 for a touchdown. Coach Ryan Patterson said he's a sensation that you just like to watch practice. He can do so many things. He's a dynamic athlete, but he's also such a great kid. He plays and prepares with raw emotion. He's a competitor, and his attitude is infectious. He will be this year at the Naval Academy Prep School, but then he will attend the Naval Academy as a fullback. And I can't wait to see him on that fullback ride, plow into the line. And I also can't wait to see him in those summer Naval Academy whites. I bet you he's going to look pretty sharp. So, co-recipient of the Cumberland Times News High School Football Player of the Year from Mountain Ridge High School, Sepha Pawali.
I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of nervous. First and foremost, I would like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I would like to thank my family for all the sacrifices that they made for me to be here today. I would also like to thank my uncle and auntie for accepting me as a son and with their blessing family as a brother as well. I would like to thank my coaching staff and my brothers. So I'm really nervous right now. So, congratulations to Carter Swan as well for Player of the Year as well. Last but not least, thank you to the community for all the love and support. I'm honored and blessed to achieve this award. God bless and thank you.
The other Cumberland Times News High School Football Player of the Year co-recipient is Carter Swan. Not this past year, but 2 years ago, when he was a sophomore. You're up there doing a game, and you look out, and number 32 you kept on seeing number 32 covering kicks, being the first one down, just creating havoc. And it's like, who is this guy? And then you find out he's a sophomore. Well, now we've progressed to here, and he's a senior. Led the Sentinels in rushing with 1,097 yards for 141 carries, a 7.8 yards per carry average. He rushed for a team-high 39 first downs with 16 TDs. As a linebacker, he had 51 solo tackles, 81 assists for a total of 132. 2 fumble recoveries, 2 interceptions, and 2 sacks. He forced 2 fumbles and pressured the quarterback 5 times. He's also a big game player. Mountain Ridge, where he had 165 yards rushing, 11.8 yards per carry, and led the team defensively with 5 solo tackles and 5 assists. And the state championship game against Frederick Douglass. There, he rushed for a game-high 109 yards on 20 carries, including a 55-yard TD in the first quarter. Led the defense with 4 solo tackles, 6 assists, and 1 huge quarterback sack. And that quarterback sack was something to see. It was in the fourth quarter. Fort Hill was up 13-8, and Frederick Douglass was on a drive, and it was 4th and 2, and both Colton Crabtree and Carter Swan jumped into the line in 3-point stances in the A-gap on either side of the center. Now, you're a center, and here is Crabtree and Swan. What are you going to do? The center picked Crabtree. Carter Swan threw the quarterback for a 4-yard loss and sealed the state championship. Coach Todd Apple, this award is well-deserved for the time and effort alone that Carter has put into Fort Hill football program. He focused every day on how good he could get. He is super competitive and so very deserving of this honor. The Cumberland High School Times News High School Football Player of the Year co-recipient from Fort Hill High School, Carter Swan.
First, I would like to thank the Times News and Dapper Dan for presenting me with this award. And I always liked reading the write-ups from the Times News. My grandparents always cut out the clippings. I've always enjoyed reading them. Secondly, I'd like to thank the coaches, especially Coach Apple. One time, this is just a little story, Coach Apple, right before Thanksgiving, he wanted me to go to the dinner, but I was trying to go to my grandma's dinner. And me and him got in some argument and flipped out. But right before practice, I came back to his office and talked to him. As soon as we both looked at each other, we started bawling. Just started crying as soon as we saw each other. Third, I'd like to thank my parents and grandparents for all the love and support for making the person I am today. I remember being a little kid, and my brother and I would be running on the back of my grandfather's fool-wheeler, going like 18, 20 miles an hour, trying to get in shape, doing stuff. It's my grandfather. He enjoyed doing that. I remember playing pee-wee football, running for touchdowns, and holding the ball straight up and down, not knowing how to carry the ball. And then I also remember losing against Southern my D1 Patriots year. And I liked beating them twice this year and got hit of the week against them. That was very nice. I'd like to thank my dad in particular, who coached me and pushed me harder than any other player. I'm sure Walk knows the feeling. And I can't forget to thank my older brother, Trenton, who always says he made me as tough as I am. He used to beat me up all the time, wrestle me on the trampoline. He had no remorse. I remember watching him play ball as I ran up and down the sidelines, waiting for my opportunity to come. As brothers, we were so competitive against one another and always strived to be better than he was. I guess that is how I became so competitive. He would always tell me how proud he was and how each level would become harder, pushing me to get better. It is an amazing feeling when you finally outdo your role model or teacher. Sports definitely made my brother and I closer. This journey has definitely been fun, and I can't wait for the next chapter and look forward to playing Frostburg football. And thank you again to everyone for this award.
It has been my pleasure and my honor over the last 4 years to be the radio analyst for WTBO and analyze every play of every game for Fort Hill High School. Now, Mike Burke said certain things are sick. And in the past 6 years, that's sick. He's had some stats on it, but how about the past 6 years? 79-3. Think about that. 79-3 over some quality teams from Maryland, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Florida. Every year they just have always given their best. But let's talk about 2018. A surprise to some people. We know what Fort Hill football is like. We know there's athletes waiting to step up, to waiting to do their thing, to waiting to come down those steps and be ready to play.